amigos. I just want to film a little update on my situation, and quite a lot has happened. Last night I couldn't sleep. I was very restless, and a lot of things were going through my head. And I was trying to figure out how I first found out that I didn't love my husband anymore, my soon to be ex-husband. And it's very strange, and I'm a bit ashamed to admit it, but a lot of the times I was imagining my husband to be dead of a heart attack or an accident or anything. Not me. I never had the intention of killing anyone or contributing to anyone's death. None of that. I'm not a criminal mind or anything, but I had this fantasy of him suddenly passing away, and I could imagine myself being happy about it. Not happy in the way jumping for joy, but feeling a sense of relief. And that fantasy came back over and over and over, and it was driving me insane, because, and I was wondering, why do I keep imagining that my husband's dead? I should be scared of him dying. I should be, I mean, if you love someone and that person dies, it's the end of the world. It's terrible. You have to grieve for so long, and it's a horrible thing. It's like they cut you in half or something. But no, I felt this relief every time I was imagining or dreaming that my husband had passed away. And then I said to myself, that's not normal. And I had to really examine my feelings and come to the conclusion that I don't really love my husband the way I used to love him anymore. And I certainly don't enjoy being with him, to the point of, if anything happened to him and he had an accident or he had a heart attack, I would actually feel a sense of relief. And this is because I realize now that I've been through so much emotional abuse that I wasn't even aware of. And a lot of the times I just had to suppress my emotions and suppress my reactions, and not show him that I was sad, not cry in front of him, not become emotional, not get angry. And every time I was pushing down these feelings, I was just denying myself this part of myself. I had to push myself down. I had to suppress that part of myself. And in the end, you just become a shell of yourself, even though they say, oh yeah, it's good to deal like that with difficult people. You have to ignore them, not react, and not show emotions. But it's not normal. We are emotional beings. Human beings, we're very emotional. And if I felt like crying, I would make sure I would not cry in front of him, because he had no empathy for me. And he would probably even make fun of me for crying, because he interpreted that as a weakness and as craziness. I mean, you're crazy again, and you're too sensitive, and why do I have to put up with this? Like making it sound like if I'm crying, it's a big chore for him, and I'm aggressing him by crying. I'm putting this onto him, but he can't deal with it. He could never deal with any emotions. And this is how I figured out that I had to do something. And then one day I talked to my daughter, my adult daughter, and I said, look, I have this fantasy that my husband's, he's not her father, by the way, she was from a previous marriage, that I have this fantasy that my husband's dying, that I'm happy about it. And then she said, well, you need to get out of it, because that means you should not be in this relationship anymore. And I examined myself, and I found that was true. So now, today, it's very strange, because even though I feel for him, I feel sorry for him, because I know he's going through a lot of stuff and it's very hard for him, but I don't feel for him in the sense that it's affecting me personally. I feel for him like you would feel for a neighbor or a friend or a colleague at work, but not someone very, very close. And I do feel sorry for him because he's not prepared to cope with this. Now, what happened, I have been talking to my solicitor and we're preparing his financial disclosure. I found out a few days ago, I don't know when it was, that he gave away one of his motor vehicles to his grandson. And I found that I think it's probably quite an innocent thing on his behalf to do that. There wasn't any afterthought, but I also found it very suspicious because he's never done anything like it while we were together. He's never given anything away for free. He's very, very tight with his money and with his possessions and very attached to everything. His money is everything. If he has the love of his life is money. There's nothing else. It's not me. It's not his daughter. It's not his other kids. His money is his everything. You know, if he could have sex with his money, he would do it. I'm not exaggerating. So for him to give away a car, because he had two cars, two four-wheel drive Jeeps, for him to give away a car, it's a very big thing. And it really struck me as odd. So I told my solicitor, I said, my ex is gifting assets to his grandson. He's gifting one of his vehicles to his grandson. And my solicitor said that's not right. He's not allowed to give assets away while we're in the process of financial separation. So she said he has to stop this. And she said, I'm going to write a letter to him to ask him to stop doing this. So she wrote the letter and I read it. It was pretty to the point, not nasty, just very professional and just asking him not to do these sorts of things. Now, I don't know what happened, but next thing I find out is that he's been in touch with our 15-year-old daughter and complaining, oh, your mum's gone crazy. I don't know what's wrong with her. She wants to financially ruin me. She's after me. She wants to destroy me. And she's taking me to court because I have allowed Dylan, my grandson, to drive my old Jeep. And I found that very, very inappropriate that he turns to our daughter with this. I have blocked him. I have blocked him on my phone. I've blocked his emails. I don't want to be in touch with him. I don't want to talk to him because it's just impossible to talk to this man. It's impossible to get him to understand anything, and he will just get angry, and he's got this immense rage, this narcissistic rage that comes out, and I can't deal with it anymore. I've done my bit during our 17-year relationship. I was at the other end of that rage very often, and I don't want to be there anymore. I don't want to be in that spot anymore. So my best advice to him would be take a lawyer, pay the money, get some advice, and then only our lawyers will communicate with each other. We don't have to speak to each other. That would be marvelous, because I don't want to talk to him at all. I think it's very painful. It's very distressing. That nothing comes out of it. He doesn't understand that I want to move on. I've given him some hope that I might go back, but now I really don't want to go back. I was when I first left him, and that's not so long ago now, because it's the 12th of November today, and I left on the 21st of October. So it's hang on, maybe 3 weeks, almost 3 weeks, a bit less, and I already feel a change in me. I'm feeling a lot happier, a lot healthier. Yes, I do feel that I missed something in my life. I love the feeling of being married, everything that comes with it. But on the other hand, I didn't really get much of what it means to be married. My husband didn't desire me. He didn't want to have sex with me. He didn't want to really spend time with me. He didn't want to take me out. He didn't want to travel with me. He sometimes didn't even want to talk to me. He would rather sit in front of his computer and watch his cryptocurrency go up, or his investments go up on the computer, and do other things that I was not allowed to participate in, because if I came into the room, he would switch off the screen, or he would just go to something else. So he was hiding things from me, and this is why I needed to take a solicitor, because mediation in our case, just wouldn't work. I don't think it would have worked, because he has never disclosed his assets to me. I don't even know how much money he's got. He's never really told me how much he was earning, how much he was saving, how much he had inherited from his parents, where I had to disclose everything to him. And he used my money to pay off our mortgage. Of course, he put some money into the mortgage as well, but in the end, I had put more into it, because I put both my inheritances into it. My dad's inheritance, my mum's inheritance. He didn't put any inheritance in there. He had money saved, put aside, and he used that in the end. He made a lump sum of 80,000, just like I made a lump sum of 80,000. But when we first purchased our home in 2005, I put $100,000 straight into it as a deposit, and that was all the money that I had inherited from my dad, who passed away very sadly in 2001. And he was a very generous man, not like my husband. There's nothing generous about my soon-to-be ex. He doesn't think that I should have any of his money. He doesn't believe that we have shared assets. If anything, maybe I should just get 50% of the house, undervalued by some corrupt real estate agent or something like that. But I think he certainly believes that I deserve to live in poverty as punishment, or as, I don't know, punishment for leaving him, or maybe it's just what I deserve for being a stupid bitch, like he always used to call me, and or a stupid cow, or a stupid bitch, or I don't know, any of these names, you know. I mean, there were lots of them, but I'm not gonna go over this, because otherwise my video might get banned by YouTube. There's too many swear words in it. So yeah, so this is where we're at. So now, like they say in Australia, shit's hitting the fan, because he's very angry, he's enraged, he's using our daughter inappropriately to get at me. And I told her, don't react to this. It's very unfair on his behalf to draw you into this and to ask you to take sides. Very inappropriate and very unfair. It's very sick, really. And it makes me sick that the poor girl has to go through that. So this is what he's doing. I don't think he's going to come to my house. Thank goodness I moved out, because if I hadn't moved out, it would be hell on earth, and it would be a living hell for me right now. But I don't think he will have the guts to come to my house and knock on the door. So that's very good. At least I am safe here, but I will lock the doors and make sure everything's locked and he cannot get in here. Although it's not the type of thing he does. So yeah, he will have to, in the end, he will have to take a solicitor as well, and then only the solicitors will have to communicate between them, because I don't want to talk to him, and he shouldn't be talking to me, because nothing comes out of it. And he thinks I'm the bitch from hell, of course, for wanting my share of our assets, but in his mind it's his money. It's not our money, because I don't deserve any of it. I should just live in poverty for the rest of my life, if you get what I mean. But yeah, and I've watched a lot of videos about integrated psychopaths and the way they do things. And what really struck me is that the way they manipulate you very slowly and very progressively, and that definitely happened in our relationship, especially at the beginning. I experienced all the love bombing at the beginning, the perfect partner, the perfect relationship. I was very vulnerable because I was just going through divorce as well at that time, and I was in a very low spot, and he pretended to be my guardian angel and to rescue me out of this position of single mother, and who had lived with an alcoholic and been married to an alcoholic for 11 years, blah blah blah. But then after a while, all this changes, and they show their nasty sides, and it's the look in their eyes. You got to watch these. They try to hypnotize you with their eyes, and when they have this, when the eyes change and they get that empty, vacant, reptilian look in their eyes, that's when you got to be careful. You got to look away, because they try to hypnotize you, and then all your brain stops working, everything stops working, and you become an emotional mess, because you're just pure reaction and pure emotions, and that's what they thrive on. But in the end, I learned how to control that, and I wasn't reacting to that anymore, but it was still hurting me very, very deeply. And then another thing is the reciprocity, like reciprocating things. In a relationship, you're investing so much time, so much energy, affection, tenderness, lots of things. It's kisses, you name it. You're just investing in this person so much. You're giving them so much attention, and I'm a very affectionate person, extremely affectionate, and people have always told me that love sort of bubbles out of me, and it's true. But he killed that aspect of me eventually, because he didn't reciprocate. And the more I was giving, the less he would give me in return, in ways of affection, time, quality time. He wouldn't even make small talk to me, especially in the end, he wouldn't even make small talk to me. But at any stage of our relationship, he was very aloof and very cold and distant, and always, I'm doing my thing, don't come and disturb me, I'm in front of the computer, leave me alone, go away, do your own thing, I'm doing my thing, and I don't really want you to be in my personal space. Do you know what I mean? So I had invested all this love and this emotion and giving so much affection, but I received nothing in return. I had given a lot of my sexuality as well, and he was giving none of that to me, because he didn't even desire me. From the time we moved in together, there was no wanting sex on his behalf anymore. He didn't want to have sex with me anymore. He would sometimes reluctantly agree to do it just to shut me up or make me happy, or show me that he was generous enough to give me that thing that I needed, because of my, because I was so animalistic and crazy. And anyway, because I am a very sexual, loving person in every way, and to me, sex is life. Libido is life. Even Freud puts them, on par. And this is our sex drive, is our will to live. This is how we express ourselves, and it's not just through the sexual act of a genital rubbing against genital. No, there's more to that. It's a bonding. It's a union of two body, two minds, and I believe that him as I don't know if he's really a psychopath or not, but I'm just going to say he's a psychopath, because he could not make any connections with people, deep connections. Maybe a little bit, maybe with his family of origin to a certain degree, but I never felt that he was able to make that connection with anyone. Sometimes I felt a bit of a connection with him, but it was mainly when I initiated that sort of thing, and sometimes, yes, he would try to connect. That's mainly when he was drunk, I would say, when he had a few drinks and a bit more relaxed, then he would be a bit more loving, and he could be very loving at that time, but he could be also very hateful if he'd had a few drinks. So it could be either totally black or white. You never knew what to expect. And but there wasn't really, like, he never made a connection with any of my children, whereas I really connected with his daughters. I connected very well, especially with his daughters, and had a very strong connection. I used to look after their children, so my husband's grandchildren, and I had a very strong connection. But he did not try. I guess he managed to have that a little bit, maybe with very young kids, like my granddaughter, my daughter's daughter, like when they're very little. I think he likes that, because basically a little human being you can totally control. Really, you can it's not something. But once they grow up, they become out of your control, especially when they're teenagers. So I find that he's not very good at creating connections with his own daughters. And now I am very disappointed, because he's using our daughter, our dear daughter, to get at me. So he's just using her as an instrument to satisfy his own agenda. He's using her as an instrument, like he's always used me as a sort of an instrument, like his prized piece of furniture. My wife, who can speak 4 languages and plays the piano and writes books and does painting and blah blah blah. He would just, I would never talk about. I would never brag or put myself forward. But when we had family reunions, he would just portray me like this, and so I was his prized. And the fact that I'm pretty, I look after my physique. I don't let myself get fat, overweight and unfit, and like a lot of people my age, especially, and in his family there's a lot of women like that who just let themselves go, and they're pretty obese. And I have nothing against that, not personally, but his first wife was a pretty skinny, tall, model-looking, sort of also like a prized possession. I'm not saying, to me, I don't care, but to him, it's like very important to portray that image of perfection. And I've got this lovely wife, but it's only an image. It's only something to portray, like saying, oh, I've got a nice antique at home and I put it in the corner and it doesn't bother me, but I like to show it off when people come around, Do you know what I mean? So it's a little bit like that, I felt like I was a little bit that now he's basically very annoyed and very enraged because he's lost his prized possession and he's on his own. I believe that he did enjoy my company to the degree that it stopped him from feeling lonely, if that makes any sense. It doesn't make any sense to me, but I can sort of understand that sometimes when you're in a house that is totally uninhabited and you're the only person in that house, it can be pretty lonely and scary, especially at night. But if there are other people in the house, it makes it less ominous, less less daunting, and you feel accompanied. You feel that there's people around you, and you're not on your own. It's like you're in a flock. You're in a community, like the cavemen when they were in their cave in the olden days. They were huddled together. I think humans need that kind of thing, and even a psychopath probably needs that type of proximity with other humans, I guess, not to respect them as sentient beings or with their emotions and their needs. No, but just to be there and to be used when necessary, and not to have. So he doesn't have to confront his own loneliness and his own disastrous inner life, because I think he has a lot of unresolved issues. And I'm no psychologist, I'm not a psychiatrist, so I don't want to go into that. whatever his childhood issues were. I know he was very early on in his childhood, he was put in an orphanage from like the age of 3 years old. That was pretty much the tradition in India, where he grew up, as in the Anglo-Indian community. They were putting their kids into Catholic boarding schools from a very young age, like 3 years old, because they had to work. So they went to work on the railway or in offices, and they didn't have to look after their kids. The kids were looked after by the nuns and the brothers, and probably abused as well, of course. And they could just wash their hands off them and go to work. And I think something must have happened very early in, that he has this immense rage, and he also has a lot of abandonment issues, I believe. But he is also extremely calculating, extremely competitive, extremely vindictive, and he must have had a very, very deep injury, a deep hurt that made him like this, and that made him into that person that he is today. And I'm not saying he's a monster. He's certainly not a monster. I don't want to portray him like that. He's a human being as well, and I love that human being. And I just want to come to terms with what I'm experiencing. And at the moment, it's pretty difficult for me because there's legal stuff involved. And I know how angry he is. It's scary. I'm scared. I'm shit scared. But I'm not going to let myself go to being terrorized and to start shaking it, and to, to numb that fear and pain by, taking painkillers or whatever. I don't want to do that. I want to be able to look at what I've done. Like I have left him, and there was a good reason for it. There were several good reasons for it. Otherwise, I wouldn't have left. If I was perfectly happy, if I had been perfectly happy with that man, I wouldn't have left him. I would still be there. That makes sense. Especially, I'm not a person who gives up easily. I spent 17 years with that man. We had a child together. We purchased a home together. And we lived together for all that time. We lived together. I've never cheated on him. I've never looked anywhere else. So there must be some very deep reasons that propelled me towards this choice. And I really felt that I had no other choice but to leave in order to protect my own sanity. And if I wanted to experience any sort of happiness and peace and fulfillment in the future, I had to do this, because I don't have that many years left. I'm now 58. So in the best case scenario, I've got maybe 30, 40 years left, and that's it. And I've got to make the most out of it. And these are not my best years. My best years are already gone. They're in the past. I'm aging now. I'm getting wrinkles. My body is pretty good. I'm very healthy, and I'm very grateful for that. I thank God every day that I'm in good health and that I have a very good level of fitness. But you can see it in my face. I don't look like 25 anymore. I don't even look like 35. I definitely look like someone in their 50s, and this is not going to go away. I can't go back in time. I can't get those years back that he basically took away from me. He took my best years from me, my very best years. And also, going back to sexuality, my best years in terms of sexuality, he's probably taken as well, because as you get older, we all know that these things don't get any easier. There's a lot of issues involved when you get older, and sexuality is not as spontaneous and as wild and easy and joyful and maybe as natural as it was when we were in our 20s or even 30s. It's our hormones go down, everything diminishes. So I have given him my best years, but now it's my time, and I don't care. And I honestly, I mean, it seems like I'm insensitive to his pain, but no, I do understand his pain fully. But there is a lawyer involved, and this means that I am looking at completely separating. And maybe I gave him hope that I would come back to him, but now there is no hope anymore, and he needs to understand that. And I will have to convey it to him somehow. I don't know how, but he will, now that there's a lawyer involved and he knows about that, he must know that it's the end, and I mean business now. And he can call me all the names under the sun like he's always done in the past. It's not going to change anything. I'm still going to go ahead with this. It's too late. I can't turn back. I can't turn back my actions. I can't turn back the clock. This is it. He had many opportunities too. He had many opportunities to be a better husband, to show more love to me, more compassion, to show me that he desired me, that he found me beautiful, to maybe take me on a trip somewhere, you know, or on a weekend together, or even just to the movies. He had all the opportunities. He had the opportunity to be nice to me, to talk to me in an agreeable manner, but he didn't. He was so mean and nasty to me and talked to me in such a mean way. He didn't take his chance. He thought he could do whatever he liked and I would still be there. You know, I would never leave him. And he used this, he used my love and he pushed me to the extreme. And he, he just did everything he liked, anything he liked, put money into his own bank accounts, into his own super, while I was living on the poverty line, basically. And but he didn't worry him if I was at the supermarket and had to shoplift because I couldn't afford to buy my groceries. He wasn't there to see that. And I'm not proud of it, but it has happened sometimes. And this is because he gave me a pittance, and a lot of the times I was also not working to my full capacity because I was depressed. The whole time I was married, I was depressed, really. I was depressed, I was down, I didn't have the energy. I was always down, and I wasn't myself. So I'm not making any excuses, but I'm just trying to make sense of things, and this is what helps me a lot in this, just to talk to the camera and maybe to someone out there who's experienced similar things and maybe can relate to it. And like I said, I don't want to accuse anyone. I don't want to accuse my ex. I don't want to portray him as a monster, as an animal, or as a... no, he's never broken the law. He's never hit me. He's never done any of these things. Probably emotionally abused me, but how do you prove that? There's no proof for it. So I will leave it at that today, and I will give you another update soon. Thanks for watching, and see you soon. Bye-bye. Take care.